me is Eri ODiah.
Eri.
I know. I've known you for years, and I still do not get it right. You know,
No,
it's
it's
the
all
old
right.
man in me, I guess. I don't know what it is.
As long as you don't call me Ari.
I know, which is usually, and that, you know, that's part of being culturally diverse, is trying to understand and meet people, you know, that are things that are important to them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to call people out of their name or accidentally. I mean,
Right.
I've had people even mess up my name, as simple as that is. So
Yeah.
I totally get it. But so we're here. We're
Yeah.
talking about your career, your education, your lifestyle. So Eri, what do you do?
I am the founder and CEO of Collectively Digital, which is an online digital marketing agency that provides branding, social media, creative strategy, and web development to businesses across the U.S.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know you've done some incredible work. I've seen your work. As a matter of fact, I probably owe you a few pieces of content now that I think about it. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, how did you come up with Collectively Digital? What was maybe your education? You can share a little bit about how you got to being your own entrepreneur and maybe some of the jobs or career transitions you might have had.
Sure. I actually went to Normandale Community College and got my my AA there. And while I was at Normandale, I actually worked in their gosh, I forget what it's called now. It's DRS, which is essentially their technical and digital department, which at that time, dating myself, I mean, we all know I'm older, so, which is a department that delivers, like, back then, like television, because the classes didn't have TVs, so you deliver television.
Oh, yeah.
And we did we would shoot the job fairs in the Japanese garden. And
that's beautiful, by the way, too.
yeah. And we would do all kind of different things around the school in terms of the digital setup. So so that got me interested, and I was working as a student worker at that time, and that got me really curious about technology, because I would help with the graphic design for certain things, for the flyers for the college. And I ended up going to, after graduating from Normandale, KRS Technical School, which no longer exists. And I got my MCSD, which is a Microsoft Certified Programmer certification there. I could not find a job in Minnesota. This was back in 2001. And couldn't find a job at the time in Minnesota. I had a passion for film. I love television. I watch movies all day long if I could. And I'd always had this dream to be an actress and all of that. So packed my bags, went to LA, said goodbye to everyone, drove to LA.
That's brave.
Thank you. And when I got to LA and I started to look for work there in the industry, everyone kept telling me, do you have a 4-year degree? Do you have a degree? Do you have a degree? I would say, yeah, I have an AA, but that wasn't enough. You know, I was like, well, I have my certification. That wasn't enough, you know, at that time. So I had to go back to school. And I actually went back to school to Cal State Northridge and registered for their CTVA, which is communications and television, and ended up moving within the CTVA, there was an electronic media management course, which was this was when Facebook came out and started to become a thing. And everyone was, you know,
like when the parents took over in 2008, 2009?
No, it was like, around 2008, like.
That's when I joined, by the way. My younger frat brothers got me to join Facebook because otherwise I was going to be out of the loop.
Right. That's when Twitter and Facebook became a thing. And that was when you start to see shows say, you know, follow us on Twitter or on Facebook, or they start to run little campaigns. So they added that program to the CTVA degree, and I started to learn more about social media, learn more about audience analysis, and audience analysis really is essentially data analytics, you know.
Which is making a comeback under the umbrella of data science.
Exactly.
Great degrees and certifications to pursue.
Exactly. And yeah, so I started to learn more about that. A year and a half, almost 2 years, I actually did my internships. I interned at various different studios.
Wow.
My first internship was at NBC Universal Peacock Production.
Oh, they call it like the big boys, so to speak, the big
boys.
box.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Peacock Production, which, you know, does the Weather Channel production, and also To Catch a Predator, worked
My
on
frat
that
brother,
show.
Al Roker. Yeah.
Yes,
no, we're good.
Dateline, yes. So interned for them and started to learn how to develop shows and research, which translate to what I do now in terms of content marketing, content development.
Wow.
So I did a lot, back then I did a lot of, we would go on YouTube and like watch a ton of videos and, you know, follow YouTube like stars, and then develop shows around the YouTube stars, and then pretty much coordinate that and then pitch it to our director. And whichever ones made sense for the director, that YouTube star would get a show.
So in a way, you had formal education, but it sounds like you had a very rich on-the-job training type of education, right? OJT, I think, is the buzzword that they may use, the acronym.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, everything you've said is just like totally incredible.
Thank you.
So since we'll call that a nonlinear way to get your degree, to get your education, to bring you to be a fabulous entrepreneur and, you know, very successful. For a high school student, you said some very interesting and very brave things about taking that leap of faith, packing up and moving to LA. And, you know, for me, that's a little bit uncomfortable because I probably follow more of the traditional, you know, get a good job, stay in a good job forever, get the gold watch and all that kind of stuff. But what advice would you give a high school student, you know, 11th, 12th grader that might be good at coding or might want to learn coding, that might want to learn infrastructure, building PCs, you know, get that CompTIA certification at while they're in school? What advice would you give that high school student about pursuing a career like yours?
I would advise them to be open to non-traditional avenues, and to take risks. You know, to not be afraid to take risks. If you're in high school right now and you're interested in that kind of work, I would recommend that you do an internship right now. You know,
if they can find one, right?
If you can find one, and you can, and how do you find those internships at a high school level? There are various programs like STEM Partners. There's the Sparks. There's BDPA. There are various different programs that you can get involved with that will give you that exposure. Whether it's an internship or job shadow, you can get some hands-on experience at real corporations out there, learning and seeing what they're developing right now.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think the power of what you said too is, even if there's not a direct internship, and I'll just make two comments, is you mentioned Minnesota STEM Partnership. So if there was a passionate, interested technology student, they would come to us and they'd say, hey, I would like to research, I'd like to study this. You know, do you need any help? Can I volunteer for you? And that's how we would actually engage that student, so that by the end of their 12th grade year, they would have a documented internship in a high-tech, you know, motivated organization.
Right.
The other, you mentioned organizations like BDPA or even NSBE. Becoming a member of that organization, even as a high school student, and participating in those coding programs and other coding programs across the Twin Cities, or whatever the technology is to network, because you have a lot of IT professionals a lot of engineering professionals, a lot of math and science professionals and arts professionals with digital backgrounds coming in and working with you. So if they see you motivated, doing your thing, you know, things that they didn't even imagine could be done,
Right.
and that's just your natural flow,
Right.
right? They're going to say like, hey, would you like to work here
Yeah,
this summer?
exactly.
Or one that we're
Exactly.
missing, young ladies, right? There's
Yeah.
we have, do you want to share a little bit about aspirations?
Sure. Our agency is working with the Minnesota Aspirations in Computing program. We've been working with them for the last 3 years. And what the program does is they drive young women into a educational and career path in tech, and they do that through exposing young women at the K-12 level to experiential learning opportunities through job shadow and internships, and they award young women for their interest and achievements in tech. Mm-hmm. And when I say award, you don't have to be like you know, it's not that you have to like develop some groundbreaking technology in high school. It's you have an interest and you've like, you know, maybe you're in your robotics team at school, or your teacher nominates you because you have great, you know, grades in your, you know, computer literacy class, or you volunteer and teach code to some elementary senior citizens, or you know, you teach them how to check their email or something. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's not a really difficult, you know, barrier to qualify for And by the way, Aspirations and Computing program, the app's open right now. So young women, if you're interested, please go to the Minnesota IT Center of Excellence website. There is a link for the application there.
And we'll subtitle that
Yes.
on there for everybody. Fantastic. Great promo.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of career, a lot of education, a lot of aspirations and youth opportunities. So as we do the outro, what does Eri like to do? I mean, what is your lifestyle? I mean, what type of activities as this great entrepreneur and technologist? I mean, what do you do to like de-stress for a high school student audience?
Right. Well, I work a lot.
So the truth's coming out, right? Don't get old, because if you reach 30, you're gonna be, I get it.
So I am a huge yoga fan.
Okay.
So I do yoga at least 4 days a week.
Right.
Hot yoga, helps me de-stress.
Wait, is that eating hot Cheetos while you're doing yoga? What is hot yoga? Just what is hot yoga?
Hot yoga is a room that is probably about this big, 100 to 115 degrees.
Oh, sauna yoga, like
sauna, yeah.
Okay.
Sauna.
Steam room yoga.
Yeah, steam room yoga, and I do the sculpt yoga at Core Power.
Okay.
Core Power. And they, so it's like circuit exercise. So you're doing yoga stances while doing like CrossFit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you like to exercise and relax and stretch and get the mind, body, and soul, get it all in.
I used to run track, so I can't run anymore because of my knee, so I got to do something.
Right. No, I understand. Well, we certainly thank you for joining us today on this episode of Altitude, and we wish you all the very best. And I'm sure we'll talk again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
I'd
you
be more
for
than
coming.
happy. Thank
All
you.
right.